Hello and welcome to the Satluj TV podcast. Today, we welcome back a regular guest to our show, Dr. Bakhshish Singh Sandhu MD. Now, Dr. Sandhu is a highly experienced and board-certified internal medicine doctor, but as well as being an accomplished medical practitioner, he's also a highly respected and active campaigner for both Sikh rights and the nation of Khalistan. As such, he's the current president of the Council of Khalistan, which is dedicated to its stated aim of liberating Punjab from Indian occupation. He's also the president of Khalistan Food for All, a charity established to fund the UN food programmes. And is also the co-founder of Sikhs For Justice, having been with the organisation since 2007. And even amongst this enormous list of achievements, he still had time to author his book, Punjab, A Tale of State Terrorism, Persecution, Econocide and Genocide. Available, of course, on Amazon and other outlets. Dr. Sandhu, welcome and thank you for joining us once again today.
Angus, thank you for having me on your program. Today we're going to talk about Declaration of Independence. So the 13th colony of the United States of America, they were struggling to gain independence from the British Empire. On 4th of July 1776, there was a Declaration of Independence, which stated that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. And among these rights are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. So that was the opening line. In it was stated that all people are created equal and they have certain rights from which they cannot be kept apart. And they also stated that the governments are created to achieve the ends, the rights of the people. However, if there is a government or there are some governments who basically do not give those rights to people and they are let's say, tortures and tyranny against those people, then those people have the right and responsibility to remove that government and in its place create another government which will hold their rights. They also stated that it's not always possible or easy to do that, and therefore they said that they should try to negotiate. They try to work out arrangements with the governments which are in place for a long time. But if they have tried everything and it's not working and their rights are continuously being violated and there's basically cruelty against them, then for example, if there are usurpations, the governments don't basically give them the rights, then they can get together, change the government, or basically install a new government and then they can get their rights. And out of that was born right to self-determination, Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and that Declaration of Independence of 4th of July 1776, it was a historical event. And many countries in the world use that as a preamble, use that as a basis for their independence. It was a very highly iconic statement. This is an American character. You can say this is the American idea that was honored all over the world and very effective in getting people liberated from under their repressive regimes.
So America basically have set the precedent. They are now the land of the free, the land of the brave, as they call themselves. They were or they have become the ultimate democracy. So clearly this Declaration of Independence was arguably one of the most significant events in history, certainly in the history of democracy. So what is the historical connection then? What is the connection between this Declaration of Independence in the United States and what was happening in Punjab and what has happened in Punjab?
Okay, that's a very good question, Angus. See, why the people in the United States of America at that time decided that no longer they want to live under the British Empire. So there was a basis for that they didn't have rights. Americans under the British didn't have right to free speech. They didn't have civil and political rights. it was a tyranny and usurpations by the British government, means basically taking rights away from people by force, all sorts of things. So what's happening in Punjab now is that when 1947 India became a country, because that geographical region was called different names. However, the English people gave the name India to the geographical region, and they named it India when the partition took place. So the Sikhs at that time went with India, having a verbal agreement that they will honor the rights of religious freedom and autonomy should be given to the state of Punjab. However, what has happened since then is totally the opposite than the agreed upon conditions. So there is religious persecution, there is repression, then there is ongoing genocide of Sikhs. 10,000 Sikhs were killed in Amritsar, Darbar Sahib, June 1984. Similarly, in November 1984, another 30,000 Sikhs were killed and 300,000 Sikhs were displaced. Sikhs tried to negotiate with the Indian government. So, okay, you agreed with us. We had a promise and you gave us assurances that you will give our rights, and now not only you are taking our rights away, but when we ask for our rights, then there's basically persecution, unspeakable tortures. Several negotiations took place. However, the Indian government did not budge, and different Indian governments at different times had the same kind of attitude toward the Punjab and its people. Regarding like natural resources, right to life, right to free speech, all those rights are continuously being violated. And out of that was born the Sikh struggle for freedom. The Sikhs initially wanted to live in India. There was no problem because the problem was created by the Indian governments and administrations by driving a wedge between the communities in Punjab. Basically took control of Punjab's natural resources like water. Now they want to take control of Punjab's land. Whenever the farmers are having agitations or having peaceful demonstrations, they are being fired upon and their rights are being repressed. Importantly, today is 4th of July, and on the same day, 4th of July 1955, Indian government, police and army attacked Golden Temple Amritsar, and they carried out violence against the Sikhs. What actually happened was, at that time, the Indian government refused to create a state of Punjab in the Indian Union. So the Indian Union is basically a composite of multiple states, and it's called Union. However, they deny the Punjabi as a equal status Punjabi language because the states were demarcated on the basis of the language people were speaking in that state. So Punjabi language status was denied, and on that basis, this is basically contravention that they wanted not to give a Punjabi Suba, Punjab state. So they denied the equal status to Punjabi. So at that time, the people, mostly the Sikhs, they had peaceful demonstrations. And on the 4th of July 1955, there are like 80,000 Sikhs who were demonstrating peacefully, and they were fired upon in Manji Sahib Gurdwara, which is adjacent to Darbar Sahib. 200 Sikhs were killed in the broad daylight. Some of them were burnt alive. And out of that was born the desire to having Punjab as a separate country. So the brief summary of this is that Sikhs have tried to live along with India, but India has never given the rights that are due to them and the rights they are supposed to be given, and the rights which are their basically basic human right. All that has been denied, and there's ongoing persecution and genocide on account of Sikhs. And that's why there's a similarity between the United States of America getting independence from the British. Similarly, Punjab and the Sikhs want to get independence from India because of the similarities of the circumstances, even though the timing is different.
Yes, there is a certain irony that India, as it was in those days in the 1940s, fought very hard for independence from Great Britain, and the Sikhs made huge sacrifices in that battle to break away from colonial rule. So the Sikhs have offered blood, literally, to fight for Indian independence because they wanted their right. India itself wanted its right for self-determination. And then, of course, what followed, we have independence of India. Lots of promises made to the Sikh community about their own autonomy, their own independence. And of course, it was not granted. Their human rights were trampled upon. So it is a great irony, is it not, that India was fighting for self-determination, got it, and then would not then in turn grant it to those people within its borders who wanted the very same thing.
See, though, when the Indian people at that time, basically the British attached for administrative ease Punjab to the rest of region now called India. They were fighting together to get the country liberated from India. Liberated from the British. However, even at that time, the Sikhs were feeling inside that this is not going to work for them. And then at the time of 1947, there were three parties. There were Sikhs, there were Muslims, and there were the Hindus. So what happened that the Sikhs had a chance to get the country separated as a result of improper decolonization and imperfect decolonization. Punjab was now recreated as a country. What the British should have done, they should have given the Punjab to the people of Punjab because it had nothing to do with India. So India was under British rule for a long time. And then there were wars or there were battles between Maharaja Ranjit Singh and the British, and finally the British won. And then these three parties, the Sikh leadership was basically promised that all these things will be done. And now the Sikhs are all asking what belongs to them. They're asking, look, give us rights, give us religious freedom, political freedom, give us like economic freedom. But all those things are not only being not given, but they're taken away from them. So that forms the basis of independence of Punjab from Indian Union. So Punjab was a separate country until 1849, and from 1849 to 1947, about 98 years, the British maintained Punjab's territorial integrity. However, when the country became independent in 1948, Indian government started breaking up and carving areas from Punjab. And people of Punjab don't like that. That the country that was there under the British, now under India, is being basically separated and broken up into separate parts. There was another basis that people of Punjab are fed up. There are no jobs. Economy is going down. There is no education. People don't have any economic ability to buy food, buy medications, and Indian government distributes food at times to make them happy and wants to keep them poor and uneducated, so they don't know what their rights are, so they have no economic ability to get those rights. But all those promises the British government was supposed to deliver, the recreation of independent Punjab was not done. And now we are facing the same situation as the Americans were facing under the British.
Yeah, well, let me ask you, Dr. Sandhu, we've talked about human rights, and a word that comes up regularly, certainly in everything I've ever learnt about the history, certainly the last 50 years or more history of the Punjab, the word that keeps coming up is torture. And, of course, extrajudicial killings. But torture, this word torture appears a lot. And, of course, there is a United Nations Convention Against Torture, UNCAT. And, of course, there are many other conventions that globally oblige nations, of course, India being one of those nations, that obliges these nations to respect human rights. And, of course, there is the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So in relation to the Punjab and of course India, what is the significance of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and this Declaration Against Torture, the UNCAT, the United Nations Convention Against Torture?
See, what happens that when Sikhs are asking for their rights, they are arrested, they are detained. They're basically asking for their rights peacefully. So what the Indian police does that. By the way, the police in Punjab is under the direct control of Indian administration. So India promulgated several laws which are black draconian laws, and under those, if you're asking for your country, asking for your rights, the police and the other authorities have the power to take you to a police station, detain you. So what they have been doing to intimidate Sikhs and to stop their voice, they started torturing people. So in the police stations in Punjab, there are several things, there are instruments for torture, like electrical machines, to apply electrical current to the private parts of the people who have been detained. And the police detains you and tortures you and does the extortion of, let's say, admission of guilt. So there's a very interesting point. So during that armed struggle, people were detained, they were tortured, and they were imprisoned under TADA, Terrorist Activities Prevention Act. Also, UA powers this also law at that time, Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. So what they did was they will detain Sikhs in the prison, let's say. And after 8 or 9 or 10 months, they will say, okay, today is your court. As you know, under those black draconian laws, the government doesn't have to file charges against you. They can put you in prison without having filed any charges or without any access to the lawyer or a judge or a court. So then they will say, today is your hearing before the judge, and you should admit your guilt. You should plead guilty. And the person will say, no, I'm not going to plead guilty because I haven't done nothing wrong. They say, no, listen to me. Okay, so if you go before the judge and you plead guilty, you will be set free because the imprisonment you have already served while staying in jail. But if you do not plead guilty, then the trial will be set. And that date may be 2 years away, and you will be in jail for those 2 years. And the person thinks, really? That my trial will start in 2 years. In meantime, my family is broken, my economic condition is broken. Then they say, okay, I will plead guilty. So that person who was detained pleads guilty and goes home. And the government says, see, this guy was guilty. We captured him for the right reasons. So these are the black draconian laws under which people were tortured. They are extrajudicially killed. And they were during the torture, if somebody is nearly dying, then the police will take them out and shoot them from behind in their back with their hands tied in the back, and then they will say, oh, this guy was fighting with police. So this is the kind of your question about let's say torture and unspeakable tyranny that was happening in Punjab. And people in many villages in Punjab were arrested in the evening or at night and taken to unknown places. And they were moved from police station to next police station. Family didn't know their whereabouts. And as a result of that, people thought that if they're going to kill us anyway, then we should die with dignity, die fighting for independence of Punjab. So this process is still going on. When the Sikhs For Justice team has been charged or basically has been falsely labeled as a terrorist, to basically falsely labeling Sikh activists as terrorists, Indian government justifies the extrajudicial killing and the transnational repression and assassinations overseas. This is all contrived to justify repression, persecution, tyranny.
So it's very clear that something is very rotten in India's legal system. I mean, we have, for example, you've referred already to two very dangerous, undemocratic pieces of legislation. We have the NSA, the National Security Act, We have the UAPA, the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. And these pieces of legislation have allowed a government running out of control to abuse basic human rights. So it would appear then that the Punjab and the people of the Punjab have every right under any moral law and arguably under any legal law to the right of self-determination, to break away from this. They do not want to live under this sort of regime, this legal cosh of India's nefarious legislation. So how do the people of the Punjab, firstly, how do they qualify for the exercise of their right to self-determination? But also, how can they go about, what can they do practically to bring in self-determination?
So what the Sikhs are doing now, they want to liberate Punjab from Indian occupation by exercise their right to self-determination. The right to self-determination was created in 1948 by the United Nations. Right to self-determination is a very important document because let's say if there is a small nation which wants to liberate itself from a bigger country, then how they are going to get independence? Because if the country is very big, they have a lot of power, they have guns, tanks and helicopters like India used against the Sikhs when they attacked Darbar Sahib, Golden Temple, Amritsar in June 1984. So the United States came to the conclusion that if these people want their independence, then they can use the right to self-determination. But right to self-determination comes with certain conditions attached. So they're saying that people who are seeking independence from the parent country, they should first try to get their rights in their parent country. However, if the parent country gives them no rights and they are being tortured or there's a persecution or there's a cruel treatment, then they can exercise the right to self-determination. In that case, the question of territorial integrity does not rise. As you know, there's always a question that United Nations says that they honor the territorial integrity of all the countries. But at the same time, there's also a law of right to self-determination. So how can people have their independence when there's a law that, territorial integrity of country should not be disturbed? But the International Court of Justice and United Nations also says if the people have tried everything to get independence from the country, or they have tried to get equal rights in the country in which they are living and they are denied, then they can get their country separated. Then the law of territorial integrity does not apply. That's one thing. Second thing was the right to self-determination was created for the people who are seeking independence, but they are under so much threat, they have a way to get their country liberated. And many countries have become independent by exercise of this right, like Kosovo, East Timor. There are many other examples. The law of right to self-determination says that the people who are seeking independence, they should have their own territorial integrity. So they should have had their governments, and they should have similar language. So the conditions are, do people have same language? Do they have economical thread? Do they have similar culture? And in case of Punjab, the case is very strong because one of the conditions is that to prove that Punjab was a country, they should have treaties with other countries. So Punjab, at the time of rule of Maharaja Ranjit Singh, had treaties with the French and the UK. So people of Punjab, they have the same language, they have same economical thread, they have territorial integrity, they have population stability. So all the qualifications are fulfilled by people of Punjab. But people don't have to fulfill all the requirements. They can meet one or two requirements and still seek independence. So Punjab's case is very strong that all the situation falls into the positive for Sikhs. The Sikhs are being persecuted. They're being driven out of Punjab by economic deprivation and genocide, econocide. And then we have fulfilled all the requirements of United Nations rules and regulations. And that's why we have 4 million Sikhs in Punjab. 4 million Sikhs in Punjab. And that's why we have 4 million Sikhs in Punjab. And that's why we have 4 million Sikhs in Punjab. And that's why we have 4 million Sikhs in Punjab. And that's why we have 4 million Sikhs in Punjab. And that's why we have 4 million Sikhs in Punjab. And that's why we have 4 million Sikhs in Punjab. And that's why we have 4 million Sikhs in Punjab. And that's why we have 4 million Sikhs in Punjab. And that's why we have 4 million Sikhs in Punjab. And that's why we have 4 million Sikhs in Punjab. And that's why we have 4 million Sikhs in Punjab. And that's why we have 4 million Sikhs in Punjab. And that's why we have 4 million Sikhs in Punjab. And that's why we have 4 million Sikhs in Punjab. And that's why we have 4 million Sikhs in Punjab. And that's why we have 4 million Sikhs in Punjab. And that's why we Punjab Referendum Commission. The Punjab Referendum Commission has laid down the rules or the guidelines for us to follow, that how to carry out the referendum voting. Even though it's unofficial referendum, you have seen the effect. The India is shook up. India is basically has realized that even the unofficial referendum is very powerful, because many countries have become independent by using the unofficial referendums.
So this referendum that has been rolling out across the diaspora has been hugely attended by Sikhs from the community right across the world. And every time we look at coverage of the turnouts, there is a sea of Khalistan flags. So it is probably a safe assumption to believe that this referendum will show an overwhelming support in the diaspora for Khalistan. But of course, Narendra Modi argues the support in the Punjab itself, where it matters, it's a fringe element. Do you believe the movement for Khalistan in the Punjab is just a fringe element?
So here's what it is. India says only a few or handful of Sikhs are asking for independence. And that's basically totally false. In Punjab, let's say, when people are asking for their simple rights, when they were not asking for independence of Punjab, they were tortured, imprisoned, extrajudicial killings. And now the people of Punjab do not want to live with India. So, for example, farm laws were created, and there were protests against the farm laws. The farmers are being tortured, their families are being harassed, their families are being basically brought to the police stations and tortured as well. Now, the question rises that if India wants to say that in people in Punjab, they do not want independence, and we are asking, let's hold a referendum in Punjab. Let people of this Punjab tell you their decision. So India doesn't want to do that. Not only that, even the unofficial referendum, India is opposing. So we challenge India, the Sikhs For Justice and other organizations will follow us, that we challenge India, okay, if you think that people of Punjab do not want independence, let's hold referendum in 6 months, 9 months, or a year, and we'll go there and we'll hold a referendum. And if the referendum wins, we'll get Punjab liberated from India. They don't want to do that. Not only that, they are saying that you cannot ask for that. So they created these black draconian laws like NSA, National Security Act, and Unlawful Activity Prevention Act. Under those laws, if anybody is asking for, let's say, speaking for Khalistan, they can be detained, imprisoned, tortured for up to a long period of time without having any charges filed against them. So they can be detained, they are in prison, but no charges have been filed against them. You have seen the example of Amritpal Singh, who has been imprisoned out of state. He is taken out of state, and he's not danger to anybody. He is just a political activist who has been talking about rights of Sikhs, and stopping people from using drugs. And now he has won the member parliament, but he's not being released. He may be released in the next few days, but until now, it has been struggle for him to get an oath. And the India says he didn't show up for taking an oath. That's ridiculous, because how is he going to show up if he's detained in the prison? It's the responsibility of Indian government to take him there. Now let's compare that. If they are saying that he is a political prisoner, but 39% of the ministers in Modi's government have criminal records, and there are serious criminal charges against them, like torture, like murders, and rapes. So there's no equal justice for Sikhs. The Sikhs will never get equal justice. If you go from even before 1947 and you go until now, Sikhs basically, when there's no justice for Sikhs, there's no system, because Indians themselves have admitted that the Indian constitution cannot give justice to all the people, because it's administered by a majority community who is basically fascist, who is basically the governments don't want to give rights to all the people equally. So there's no possibility of Sikhs getting justice in Punjab, the only option is to liberate Punjab from Indian occupation as soon as possible. And once Punjab is created, it will be all the tortures, all the economic deprivation, all the uneducation, unemployment will be solved in a short period of time. So the only solution for the people of Punjab is get them liberated from Indian occupation. So let's talk about one more thing if you have time. So Indian government declared emergency twice, 1975, and they declared emergency in Punjab only in 1988. So what is for people under the declaration of emergency? They have no social or political or civil rights. So that emergency applied only to the people of Punjab in 1988. So under that, people lose a right to life. Angus, can you believe that people don't have right to life in their own country, that the country takes your right to life away? When the constitution was being prepared, people objected a lot. The emergency cannot be declared for the countries. India was not invaded. There's no such a catastrophic condition in India that emergency has to be declared. Indira Gandhi declared emergency to protect her political career. So this is another thing the Sikhs should get. They have no choice. That some of the Sikhs are thinking otherwise, but a very vast majority. If the referendum is held in Punjab today, 99% of the people from Punjab, they want to get away from India. They will vote yes. And that's why India is not only holding, India is denying holding a referendum in Punjab, they are also stopping the referendum outside. Even the unofficial referendum, India doesn't want to happen. Other thing out of referendum campaign has come out is that India is being exposed of all those violence against minorities, not only Sikhs, also the other minorities like Muslim and Christians and Buddhas and all that. So India has been exposed all over the world that they are not peaceful people. They carry out torture and violence against minorities, and particularly the Sikhs, because Sikhs are asking for independence of Punjab.
Dr. Sandhu, let me ask you one final question following on from that. History has taught us very clearly that oppressive regimes, it doesn't matter how powerful they are, democracy always wins in the end. The people will always overthrow any oppressive regime. We saw it in the Soviet Union. The United States got its own independence. Democracy wins through every single time. Do you think that in our lifetimes we will see democracy win in the Punjab, and do you think we will see Khalistan?
So that's right. The people win in the end. The determination of the people seeking independence is the single most important factor. And the Sikhs have determination. Sikhs have all the ingredients to get independent from India. So how is that? The Sikhs are not new. Let's put it like this. So this struggle is not new for Sikhs. Sikhs have been fighting the tyrants for 400 years. There was a Mughal rule in India. The Sikhs were instrumental in getting the Mughal out. Then the British came. The British didn't leave because of Mahatma Gandhi. British left because their life was basically not good in Punjab, because they were scared. If anybody they were scared of, the British, they are scared of Punjab and its people, because the people of Punjab was so much determination, so much the mental power they have, that they're willing to fight under any circumstances. So also, like the other foreign invaders have been expelled, India will be expelled too. It's the determination of the people of Punjab which is so strong that they will never stay as slaves for a longer period of time. So India should do this. India should agree with us to hold official referendum. Then we'll have two countries, friendly relations with each other. Just like America and UK, they have friendly relations. We will have friendly relations between India and Punjab. And the Punjab will become independent. Not far away, all the systems are building up. There's going to be a change in world order. Out of that is going to be born the country of Punjab.
What an inspirational message, but there we must leave it. But we will be talking again with Dr. Sandhu soon to continue our discussion. Dr. Sandhu, it's been an absolute pleasure as always. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Angus.
And thank you for watching the Satluj TV podcast. We will see you next time.